All right, Alicia, you know what this is. This is the National Women's Soccer League semifinals weekend. So DC played Portland. I had forgotten just because DC won, so I'd forgotten already. DC played Portland yesterday, won. They're moving on to the finals. And today, who's playing?
I wanted to say the New York City Gotham, but they're not actually New York anymore. It is Gotham versus Orlando Pride.
And that game's about to start, so we got to get the show on the road so that we can be done recording this and in front of the screen, seeing who's going to be playing DC for the title.
So, welcome to the Rollin' Forward podcast.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Rowland.
And I'm Dr. Alicia Rowland. I almost forgot my name.
I'm a psychiatrist.
And I'm a pediatrician.
Together, we're part-time clinicians, part-time researchers, and absolutely full-time nerds that are really focused on making health news actually make sense.
And as always, this is general information, not personal medical advice. So if you want to know specifically how this applies to you or your kids, please talk with your clinician.
And today, inspired by the soccer playoffs, we decided to do an episode focused on kids in sports. Not the wins and the losses of sports, but rather what science says about the mental health, social belonging, and emotional skills that kids do build on the field.
And we'll get into what not to do, namely turning your young 8-year-old into a stressed out mini Olympian.
That just sounds terrible. I'm just imagining like miniature Olympians.
It actually sounds like worse for the parents. Who wants to do all that driving?
So let's do it. Let's stretch this out and let's get into it before this next game starts. So when we think about sports and mental health, one of the strongest findings about kids and mental health is that belonging protects kids. So when you can feel connected to something like a sports team, it predicts lower rates of anxiety and depression among kids. And that can be funny to think about when I think about my daughter's sports teams, and teams here is in quotes because they're like 2-year-olds running around, not making any sense. But the reality is that being a part of something in that way is really good for kids' mental health.
Exactly. And that sense of belonging doesn't require being the star player. Studies consistently show that participation, not performance, actually drives the benefit.
Which is really great for me to hear now because I was not the most athletic kid, as you know.
They actually have all these studies that show that the youngest child is more likely to be an Olympian and the middle child is more likely to be like a successful college professor.
So, Alicia, since I'm the middle child and a successful college professor, when are you going to the Olympics?
I actually went to the Olympics last summer in the stadium.
In the stadium.
In the stadium.
And being there was great too. But for kids' sports, we really think about it like a mental health buffet. There's so much that you get from participating in sports. You have the physical activity itself, which is going to boost kids' mood and then improve their sleep. And then you have the team structure, which for many teams that are more organized is going to help create a routine where you have practices. For us, I still remember in high school, practices Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That is a routine. And then you've got the coaches and the teammate, which help increase social support. People that you can go to that aren't your parents and your siblings for social support, for help. And all of this together is so protective.
Kids who play sports report higher self-esteem and better emotional regulation. That's things like managing disappointment, staying focused, and navigating conflicts with peers.
So basically, exposure therapy for your life skills, because you have to be patient while you're waiting to sub in for your turn. You have to tolerate frustration when your team loses. Most teams lose at least once a season, often many times a season. And then you have to have humility when your team scores when the ball bounces off your face.
It sounds like you watched the game last weekend.
I did. I absolutely saw that, and it was rough for the player.
Sports gives kids huge benefits, but there's also a flip side. And that stress happens when adults and kids sometimes forget the point.
Research on kids consistently show that their biggest stressor around sports isn't actually the competition, it's the pressure from the adults in their lives around the competition.
When parents or coaches focus too much on winning, rankings, or whether a child is, quote, falling behind, everyone's enjoyment really plummets.
And the reality is that when sports stop being fun, kids are going to want to quit. There's good research showing that most kids drop out of these organized sports by age 11 because they find that the joy is gone and it's been replaced by this intense pressure, many times for adults in their lives, to compete and to win instead of being part of the team and enjoying the game.
Early specialization is another issue that we talk about in pediatrics. Specializing in a single sport, being a specific soccer player, basketball player, baseball player before age 12 increases your injury risk, it increases burnout, and it increases the probability of quitting.
And Elisa, you just mentioned injury risk with specialization. And when you think about something like baseball, where you're swinging the bat over and over and over again, or tennis when you're doing that, and that sort of repetitive motion where you're doing the same movement over and over and over again, as opposed to being more general physical activity, when kids are young and their bodies are still developing, that's a really high risk for injury.
That's why it's really important to engage in a lot of different types of sports. Work on building all your muscles instead of just that one pitch or one throw.
Which is why my 2-year-old is both in swimming and ballet. That's a good balance, right? But I do think it's important to say that as parents, we live this busy life and there can be this drive and this pressure to get involved and stay involved. But if you have a young child who's 6, 8, 10, and you're finding that the sports is just taking over your life and you're spending more on club fees than on a week of groceries, that's a good opportunity to kind of check in and make sure that these sports, they remain enjoyable for your kids, they remain fun and that opportunity for social support and connection, and that they haven't become something that is hyper competitive and high stress and really draining the joy.
Because sports are supposed to be social laboratories. Kids learn from teamwork, they learn communication, and they learn to share responsibility.
And part of that shared responsibility is something that research calls social buffering, where people around you help you absorb stress. Because stress hits softer when you feel supported, and teammates have that built-in buffering, that when a goal goes in against your team, the whole team is sharing that disappointment together, and that's the social buffering.
And we see that even in individual sports. Sports like gymnastics, martial arts, track, where you are competing on your own, it still creates a community structure that helps kids feel connected.
And that works even if your child might not be the most social child. So maybe you're raising a child that's more of an introvert, more shy or anxious. And what's important to know is that even for children who may have more anxiety, studies show that participating in sports reduces social anxiety because it provides the structured, predictable interactions. You know what practice is going to be like. You know what the game is going to be like because it's something that happens in the same way over and over, and that helps reduce anxiety.
And coaches matter enormously. Supportive coaching predicts better mental health outcomes, and punitive, hostile coaching predicts worse ones.
So if you're at a game and your kid's coach is really giving off that reality TV energy,
A la Dance Moms.
oh my gosh, I mean, that might be an opportunity for you to check in and see if you think that that is still the best environment for your child to thrive and have fun in.
I remember when my soccer coach was given a red card
What?
at a game
Wait, no, tell me.
for being too disruptive and mean to players and the ref.
The coach?
The coach was given a red card. And then next season, mom and dad had me switch teams from one of the best teams in the league to one of the worst teams in the league, and it was way more fun.
That's exactly what we're talking about. When coaches bring that kind of energy, when adults are bringing that kind of energy, it takes the fun out. And it's better to have fun than it is to win, especially at these young ages that kids are.
On the new team, we were so bad that we got ice cream every time we scored a single goal.
There must have been a lot of ice cream.
It was not a lot of ice cream, but it was a lot of fun.
And that's what the research consistently shows, that it is not elite sports that is helpful. It's the moderate, regular physical activity that's linked to lower anxiety and depressive symptoms in kids. And there's strong evidence that this exercise, it's just helping regulate your stress response system.
Kids who participate in sports show healthier cortisol patterns, meaning that they recover from stress more efficiently.
And then there's also that executive functioning side, where when you're participating in sports, even if your team is losing, there's some sustained attention, flexible thinking, working memory that's all in play. And so kids who participate in regular physical activity often score higher in these cognitive domains compared to kids who don't.
Especially sports with quick decision making, like soccer, basketball, where your brain has to process motor, visual, and social cues rapidly. It's cross training, not only for your legs, but also for your neurons.
And sleep. After a busy game running around the field for 90 minutes, kids are going to be tired. And the research tells us that kids who are consistently active fall asleep faster and get more restorative sleep. And improving sleep, even if that was all you got from the game, it reduces emotional reactivity and improves concentration.
There's also something that I totally love from the social science literature: shared goals. Kids who are working towards something together, even a tiny objective, bond more quickly and show more pro-social behaviors.
All of this connectedness is protecting mental health. And the more that a child feels part of a community and part of something, the lower their rates of loneliness, anxiety, and depressive symptoms.
But, and this is key, these benefits only show up in supportive environments. Too much pressure cancels out all the gains.
And so switching you from the team that was winning, but the coach was getting a red card for his behavior, to a team that was losing, but such a more supportive environment, that was actually a really smart move on our parents' part. Even if you only went to the Olympics to watch soccer instead of play soccer.
So, what can parents do? Here's a list of science-backed steps to help kids thrive in sports.
Number 1, focus on your child's effort, not their outcome. So praise any improvement that you see, praise their teamwork, praise their problem solving.
Number 2, when kids are old enough, let kids choose their sports. Autonomy predicts motivation and long-term participation. Just because I love watching soccer doesn't mean that my niece necessarily wants to play soccer.
She's going to play soccer. She doesn't know yet. She's going to play soccer. No, we will let her decide.
We will let her choose that soccer is the right sport.
Indoor soccer or outdoor soccer. I mean, that's a choice. Number 3, this is so important. Keep the schedule reasonable. Think about how old your kid is, how much sleep they need, and recovery matters. Some of these back-to-back tournaments that elite sports can have, it's really reducing sleep and recovery for kids.
Being on your local team, your school team, your travel team, all together when you have game after game, tournament after tournament, might not be the best choice. And it might be better and healthier to choose one team to focus on and stick with that team.
Which brings us to point number 4. Protect the downtime. Rest is really important. And rest is when the brain gets to sort of recover and consolidate all those skills together.
And number 5, normalize losing. Being disappointed and receiving support is resilience training. Unfortunately, your child will have a lot of disappointment in their lifetime, and it is important to build resilience and recovery and normalization for when things happen that you're disappointed with.
And as parents, we want to protect our kids, and sometimes we think about that protection as keeping anything bad or disappointment from happening. But we cannot protect our kids from losses that are going to happen in life. So actually the best thing that we can do is teach them to cope with those disappointments.
And the best thing you can say after a game is, "I loved watching you play."
That is so simple and so powerful. I mean, just that, and that is how I feel. I love watching my daughter swim. I would like for her to know how to swim as a safety thing. So the better that she does, the more reassured I feel. But that you just love watching them engage in a sport. So in short, sports, it can be a huge mental health and social win for kids if adults are keeping it healthy and fun.
Cheer for effort, embrace imperfection, protect joy. Even if your kid's greatest contribution is picking flowers on the field. I'm not saying that someone in this room did this while playing baseball.
Okay, I was in the outfield and the ball, I didn't really understand the rules and we didn't speak that much English. I don't know. I felt like I didn't understand the rules of the game. And I would.
That was a choice.
That was a choice. Where was I supposed to learn it? I don't think we play baseball in Belgium. We're gonna have to look up. Does Belgium have a baseball team? So yeah, I would make some daisy crowns and miss every ball when it came my way. So that was fun for me.
So even if your kid's not the star player, that's okay.
Because this is how kids are learning and growing. And now we do have to wrap this up because the game is about to start.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
So we'll be back next week.
Probably still between soccer games because the finals for the National Women's Soccer League. Go DC. Go Washington Spirit.
In the meantime, feel free to like, subscribe, share this podcast with a friend.
Give us a 5-star review. Send it to your coach.
Send us an email. Our email is at rollinforwardshow. That's ROLIN_show@gmail.com.
And with that, I'm Dr. Stephanie Rowland.
I'm Dr. Alicia Rowland.
Thank you for listening. And DC.
Rise up.
DC.
Rise up.
You're supposed to keep going. You're supposed to keep going with the chants. Here we go. Let's go watch the game.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
Well, I always do the rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.
You got it.
After the outline. So you're
Sing
good.
it again. Sing it again. My theme song.
Rolling forward, Dr. Sister Science Facts.